Problem solving, multiplying and dividing fractions. On the books. Name the operation or operations needed to solve each problem. Then solve the problem. Use models to help you solve those that involve division. Number 1. Rosa worked for 3 hours on her homework. Each of her assignments took 3/4 of an hour to do. How many assignments did she have? Pause the video, solve the problem, unpause the video to see the answer. We know that Rosa worked for 3 hours, and we're supposed to use a model to solve this problem, so we're going to draw 3 circles to represent 3 hours. Each of her assignments takes 3/4 of an hour. So we're going to divide each of these hours into fourths. Now, one assignment takes 3/4 of an hour. So we'll have, this will be one assignment. Two assignments. Three assignments. Four assignments. So the answer is 4 assignments. To solve this problem with an equation, we would do 3 divided by 3/4. And when you solve division with fractions, you're going to make the whole number an improper fraction. And we keep, change, flip. We can reduce before we multiply. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 4 stays and 1 stays. 1 times 4 is 4, and 1 times 1 is 1. 4 over 1 equals 4, and this matches our answer for assignments. So the operation that we used was division. Question 2. Karen lugged 4 books home from school. Each weighed 2 1/4 pounds. How many pounds of books did she lug? Pause the video, solve the problem, unpause the video to see the answer. Well, we know that Karen has 4 books, so we can draw 4 books. We're going to use a rectangle for our model. Now, each book is 2 1/4 pounds. We want to know how many pounds in all. We can add 2, 2, 2, and 2, which is 2, 4, 6, 8. And here we have a fourth, a fourth, a fourth, and a fourth. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 fourths. So we have 4 fourths, which equals 1 whole. So if we add 8 plus 1, we get 9. So our answer is 9 pounds. Now we used addition, but really it would be better if we used multiplication. 2 1/4 times 4 books. Before we multiply, we have to change our mixed number into an improper fraction. 4 times 2 equals 8. 8 plus 1 equals 9. So we have 9/4 times 4 over 1. We can reduce before we multiply. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 9 times 1 is 9, and 1 times 1 is 1. 9 divided by 1 is 9, and that matches our answer. Our operation that we used was multiplication. Question 3. Bernard worked on his homework for 1 1/2 hours on Monday, 2 1/4 hours on Wednesday, and 1 3/4 hours on Thursday. Jerome spent half as much time on his homework on those days. How did Jerome work on his homework? Pause the video, solve the problem, unpause the video to see the answer. We know that Bernard worked on his homework on Monday for 1 1/2 hours. On Wednesday, he worked for 2 1/4 hours. On Thursday, he worked for 1 3/4 hours. We first need to add to get all of these to find his total. So we need to add. Now they want us to use models. So to use a model, we would have 1, and then here we'd have 2, and here we'd have 1. Now here we'd have, let's say here we're going to have if I break this down into fourths, okay, this would be 1/4, and this would be 3/4. So that essentially is one whole thing. So this would be a 1, this would be 1, this would be 1, this would be one whole, this would be one whole, and then we have a half, okay? So I'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 hours. 5.5 hours. I'm going to write this over here, 5.5 hours. That's if I use a model. I'm going to erase this. Erase, 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 erase. Okay. And now let's say I want to solve this now with a, let me erase this too, with math. Well, we know when we add fractions, we need to have a common denominator. And in this case, our common denominator, we're going to make a 4. Well, 1/4 is going to stay 1/4, and 3/4 is going to stay 3/4. To get from 2 to 4, I have to multiply by 2 on the bottom. So I'm going to multiply by 2 on the top, and that's going to be 2/4. 2 plus 1 plus 3, 3, 4, 5, 6 is 6/4. And 1 plus 2 plus 1, 2, 3, 4 is 4. Now 4 can go into 6 one time with 2 left over. And 1 2/4 is the same as 1 1/2. And 1 1/2 plus 4 equals 5.5. So we know that Bernard worked for 5.5 hours. Now, Jerome spent half as much time on his homework on those days. Now, remember, they want us to show a model first. So we're going to do 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. Now this would be 6 hours, but he's only going to study for a half of it. Okay, so we're going to do a half. So we're making a model here. This would be 5.5 hours. And we know that Jerome is going to spend half this amount. So let's divide this in half. Okay, so I have 2 blocks here, 2 hours here. So let's say that Jerome, I'm going to change my color here. So half of these 2 would be, this is half. Okay, out of these 2, this is half. Out of these 2, this is half. Okay, now half of this 1 hour would be half. And half of a half is a fourth. Okay, so we have 1 hour, 1 hour, a half an hour, and a fourth of an hour. Okay, now we know that 1/2 equals 2/4, because I could divide it like that. So that would be 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. So that's 3/4 and 1, 2, 2 3/4. So Jerome, oops, that's with a J. Let me erase that. Jerome with a J spent 2 3/4 hours on his homework. So that's our answer, 2 3/4. Now what did we do here? We actually divided. Okay, we divided by 2. So I'm going to now erase this, and we can do it mathematically. It's a lot of erasing, sorry. We're going to show you this mathematically. So we had 5.5 divided by 2, and I'm going to write 2 as a fraction. So we make this a mixed number. 2 times 5 equals 10, plus 1 equals 11. So I have 11 over 2 divided by 2 over 1. And I keep, change, flip. So I have 11 and 4. So I have 11 divided by 4. 4 can go into 11 2 times, which is 8. Remainder 3, which would be 3. And I can write that as 2 3/4. So Jerome, as we said, studied for 2 3/4 hours. And if you really want to know, 3/4 of an hour is how many minutes? 45 minutes. So 2 hours and 45 minutes. Question 4. Eva can do one social studies assignment in 3/4 of an hour while listening to the radio. At that rate, how many social studies assignments can she do during 24 hours of listening? Pause the video, solve the problem, unpause the video to see the answer. We know that Eva is going to be studying for a 24-hour period, or at least we want to find out how many assignments she could do in a 24-hour period of listening to music. Using a model, this means we would have to draw out 24 circles. Each circle represents 1 hour of listening. Now, she can do one social studies assignment in 3/4 of an hour. So I have to divide each hour into fourths. And if one assignment takes 3/4, we can partition out 3/4 for each assignment. So assignment 1 would take 3/4. Assignment 2 is going to take 3/4. Assignment 3, assignment 4 is going to take 3/4, and I'm just going to continue this pattern. So each assignment is going to take 3/4 or 3 sections. So this is 6, assignment 7, assignment 8, assignment 9, assignment 10, assignment 11, assignment 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32. So if she listens to music for 24 hours, she will be able to get done 32 assignments. The operation that we use to solve this would be division, because each hour we divided into fourths, and then we partitioned it out into 3/4. So we did 24 divided by 3/4. So we keep, change, flip. We can reduce before we multiply. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 24 divided by 3 is 8. 8 times 4 is 32. And 1 times 1 is 1. And that equals 32 assignments. Good job.